So I'm currently doing the 100-day project, and I'm like a day or two off because I'm trying to make full works on paper that are finished at a larger size. I'm just allowing it to flow and unfold naturally. I've already completed 14, which is pretty much close to like a one a day. But my process is very cyclic and fluid, and I rely on like abandoning and letting it sit and letting it rest. So even in regards to these, it's about like 13 here that are in process, and the ones on the top are more closer to being complete, because I can just tell and the way they feel. And then I have them at various stages. Like this one needs a lot more work. So, but the cyclic process really helps me see. And what happens, why I love a 100-day project is, and mine's a little extreme, but you can actually take just one element and do it for 100 days of exploring something that you're like not comfortable with, or where you want to push yourself. If you follow it every day pretty consistently almost, right? Because life happens, and this is why a daily practice is so important, like almost every day showing up, because what's going to happen is you're going to generate your own momentum and energy through showing up daily, and you're going to be your own best teacher in the process. And there's so many great people that share things, but ultimately it's about that internal trust and deepening within yourself, right? Of course, we need to learn, and I'm not saying don't learn, but what I noticed over the course of my coming out into my art and expression and getting closer to what I love is that 100-day projects are really essential in my own growth. And this will be my fifth one. And that's why I'm like pushing myself a little bit further to try to make 100 completed works, because I'm just in a different space, and I'm also a little crazy, but I want to see, and it's also a commentary on fast art, and because it's not, even though it looks fast, it's not necessarily fast. Looks can be deceiving. Sometimes we look out there on the social media thing and we think that person has it all together when probably they don't. Um, we don't know their story unless they're saying it. And that's what I like to do here. Like, talk about those harder moments and shine a light on these things that, so you feel less alone, because these things are hard ultimately. Showing up every day wasn't a thing for me until I took, the Creative Visionary program with Nicholas Wilton, and, learned a lot of techniques there. I also learned from other artists that I was interested in, right? Because you're not going to resonate with everyone out there. It's just the case, and so you follow what's interesting to you, and learning and unlearning and discovering yourself. But what a 100-day project is, you shut everything off. You're not like thinking about the external so much. You're really focused on the internal and what that project is supposed to convey for you. So, what I noticed is, for me, I had a lot of fears to break through, and a lot of like judgment and like external criticism, and feeling probably insecure about like what I was making, and even scared to share and like bring it out more. But by doing a lot of 100-day projects and just letting it be a project, right? There wasn't the pressure to like have it be something, but then I was still sharing. So in that process, I learned that it doesn't really matter what's going on. Like, we can just show up and create. And that is exciting, because when we show up and create, we really create a momentum and an energy and drive for ourselves, and we can really take ourselves farther, faster, but slower. you know, we're doing it daily, and what's happening is the momentum is building up over time. You're going to experience where you get stuck, and you know, if you're committed to the 100 days, you're not going to stop. You're just going to keep going, and then you're going to see how you have a breakthrough, and you're going to see what happens when you're really excited about something. It just like starts pouring out of you. So what's great is you start to build that muscle memory and that knowledge of what it means to go through 100 days, and then it becomes easier and easier to show up daily. And you know, sometimes the 100-day project is hard to quit, because when it comes up yearly, you know, like what it really does for you if you've ever made it through a full 100 days, whether you took it slower or not, but you did 100 things or more, right? And like, that's exciting. But like, we don't need a 100-day project. And of course, like, my idea is a little like much, making these full works on paper. Oops. But I'm trying to push myself somewhere. And also create a commentary on fast art versus slow art, versus like, what does it really mean when we show up? Can we really call this done? How do we finish it? Can we be more present in the moment? There's a lot of things that are deeper that are going on. So that's just me, though. I always want to like figure out for myself, where can I take this thing just a little bit further? How can I push it like even stranger and weirder? Because that's what I like to do. So that's like also a good thing to consider, not just when you're doing like maybe a 100-day project, but just when you're going about in your daily practice, or practice, even your life. Like, where do you want to go just a little bit deeper? How do you push it a little bit further? And what is like your leading edge? Because sometimes when we're right on the edge, we need that push. And I know that because I haven't always been like this vocal and animated. I mean, I have been, but I haven't always dared to share it out forward. So I would say it's a culmination of years of doing a lot of 100-day projects, learning from who I love and unlearning from what I didn't love, right? Also, let's talk about setbacks, right? What's great about a 100-day project is if you're staying in it every day, you're eventually going to see that you want to quit. Because it's not easy to show up every day. It creates like, you need a consistency and a dedication and a wherewithal to just like hang in there. It's easier to quit, right? And that's like anything in, you know, life, working out. And I've definitely been on both sides. So like, I know what happens, and maybe it's not for everyone too. That's something else to say. Not everyone wants to work that way. But so this is just like from my experience of what's happened after doing, I'm on my 5th 100-day project, and on my 7th year of coming out in art making. And but it's taken me a long, slow journey to come out, you know. And something I like to say is, if you're feeling in this place, you know, it can take time. Sometimes we don't just let, you know, the time percolate and give us this possibility to open the door. Sometimes we're trying to rush to open the door, and then it doesn't really work out when we do that. So that's an interesting point. It's like learning how to feel that energy and come into relationship with everything, right? That's a lot to say. But a 100-day project in our art making can really teach us what it means to come into a relationship with all these aspects of ourselves. And we can face our fears. And if we had fear about showing up and sharing, which I did in the past a lot, it really helped me break out of that. And now I would say I'm far beyond that. But, you know, I still have my doubts, and I still have my hesitations and fears just as much as the next person. And that's what I like to talk about. I like to talk about the harder things because they don't really go away. Maybe it gets like quieter, But depending on what's going on in your life or where you're trying to take yourself, you know, those things arise again in a different kind of way. So it's all about learning how to face it all in art and in life. And, you know, be really honest. And that can be hard, right? Because sometimes we don't want to admit where we went wrong. You know, have that hard conversation with ourselves or with someone else. You know, sometimes we run away from that, or people run away from us, or vice versa. You never know, like, what it's going to be. But I've seen it all in my life, so, and I think that was what puts me here, to be able to be so robust and open, is like, I was so afraid of everything. You know, afraid of the art making, and afraid of, if I say something, am I going to be accepted? Like, but that is a long story that goes into, like, how I grew up and how I was raised, and breaking a lot of patterns. That takes time as well. It really does. No matter how much healing work you do, no matter what aspects and what you're doing, all of this stuff is still informing us, right? So what my interest in art and showing up like daily is like, how do I investigate all this emotional stuff that's happened and is still happening and going to happen, and, you know, create from those places and spaces, which is a lot to take on. There's a lot of awareness, and why I like the 100-Day Project so much is that, you know, you really can get some footing. But I also like just showing up daily to the art practice, even if it's small, right? And I'll put that video in here. I have, you know, 15 minutes or less. You just show up, and I like this small square book because, you know, you don't need much time to just investigate what's going on. You really don't. And over time, you build this vocabulary and this energy and the connection, not just to, like, the art, but your body, mind, heart, soul. And that's exciting because, like, you'll never be the same after that. Even if it's just for you, you know, and you don't want to go on to sell the work, because that's like a whole nother story. But there's many different ways to look at these things, and there's many different avenues and aspects of coming into relationship with the self, and art making is a huge opportunity for everyone. I'm a fan, I'm a little biased, to just like explore, experiment, and express, and find out, you know, what is inside. Which can be scary, right? When we don't really have the inner workings and the emotional understanding with ourselves, or we have made up a lot of shit in our heads and we're trying to run from that. You can't really run when you're making art. At least that's what I found over the time. Year after year, I tried to kill my spiritual side because of a really hard experience I had in my life. But the more I made the art, the more I just see that side emerge. And the more I make the art, the more I see these other voices wanting to come out and, you know, attack. But, you know, what's fun is you can do that in the paint and color, mark, line, and form. And really, you can really say what you want to say even when you're not saying it. I still like to try to say it because, you know, I've always been a little bit rebellious by nature. It's probably, if everyone's doing it that way, I'm probably going to go that way. You know, can you relate? So, you know, that's not always bad. I used to think that, how does that fit in? But maybe it doesn't need to, right? I just want to share those honest feelings and emotions, and a little bit about what a 100-Day Project could do for you. Also just showing up daily in your practice, even if you don't want to take on 100 days. And, you know, daily is almost every day, right? Because some days if you're really sick, like I was very sick, I'm still like sick a little bit, very sick. I did show up though when I felt like a burst of energy, because I'm just in my practice. I want to also like say a little bit about what happens when you show up daily over years and years. Eventually you just do it, right? Like it's a non-negotiable for you. You'll figure it out. And I get it, not everyone has maybe the luxury or of that. Like, I don't have a lot of responsibility, so I can just be in my practice a lot, which I'm fortunate enough. But, you know, I didn't always show up to my practice like this, and I definitely wasn't always like motivated because I was depressed and like scared and like shy and shut down. But the great thing about art is it really is an opener and an awakener. Of course, life is too when we're living, and there are spiritual components and energetic components and emotional components to all of this. I'm not saying it's any one thing because I definitely know, you know, healing is a multi-dimensional experience, multi-sensory. It's all it's multi, like universe. You know, these are my experiences. I've lived them. I'm not like making this shit up, you know. And once you've lived it, you can speak into it, and if you want to, right? And like that makes relation. And I like the harder side because it's like everything seems so glossed over sometimes, right? Like, you know, it's like it helps for, you know, it helps the appearance of something, but you know, ultimately we're all having these struggles and maybe really hard times. I've even the last few years been very challenging, right? But then I'm like making the artwork. So if you're just looking at me posting the artwork and I'm not talking about that other side, you know, you're gonna think, oh, that person's just doing fine. And on one level, you know, I am doing fine because I'm still showing up. But like, I got a lot of things to sort out here. But why this is important, because you can still show up to your art practice in your life and you can still find your way, and you can use kind of that stuff that you're trying to figure out, you know, in this artwork and in these expressions and explorations, and you can kind of grow out of it and grow from that, and it's kind of working synergistically together where there's a feedback loop, like you're relating to the artwork's relating to you, and you're having an experience, and ultimately when you show up on those days where you think nothing's happening, eventually, boom, one day you see it all and you're like ready to go. You know, that's what we want to do. We just want to, and then, you know, maybe in a week later you might be on the floor. I don't know. Yeah, we can't gauge these things. We can't guarantee anything. All we can do is like try to trust the moment and take it day by day and show up and see what's there, you know, and get curious and investigate and stay open to the potential and the possibility, because it is infinite, and that's exciting. And yeah, I just wanted to talk a little bit about 100 days and a daily practice, and share these harder things, and just encourage you, to motivate you to come into being, because yeah, the world is a little bit crazy right now, and we have to be like strong and centered within ourselves, you know, to navigate all that emotional stuff, right? Like, there's a lot going on, so how do we center ourselves to be clear? There's many ways to do it, in art making and showing up daily, and investigating that emotional aspect is just one way.